I'm Kelly Malcolm, Vice President Exploration of the company. Amex Exploration is a Quebec-focused gold and, as of this morning, copper-focused explorer. We've got a project that we've been actively exploring for a number of years now. Since 2019, we've made a beautiful high-grade gold discovery. Recently raised $50 million that closed at the end of February. So we're in a very, very strong financial position. And like I mentioned, we're finding quite a lot of gold. I will make forward-looking statements. This will be a short talk, and feel free to actually interrupt at your behest. I'm happy to answer questions as you wish. So, as I mentioned, Amex has had quite a significant run in the market. We've generated quite a lot of value for shareholders over the past years since discovery of the high-grade zone in 2019. Raised about $50 million up here before this little pullback in the market that we're all experiencing at the moment. So, very fortuitous timing that we're very pleased to be cashed up in this market. Overall, 100 million shares roughly out, market cap around $200 million with about a quarter of that in cash at the moment. No warrants on the registry, so very tight share structure with really great shareholders. Amex has the Perron Project as our flagship asset. It is right at the border of Quebec and Ontario on the Quebec side. Fully road accessible, about a 7-hour drive from Toronto, 8-hour drive from Montreal. Right in the middle of the Abitibi Greenstone Belt, which is the second most prolific producer of gold globally, with the exception of Witwatersrand, South Africa. This area is rich with gold, and what's neat is we are on this, what we call the Shikobi Deformation Zone. As you can see, on the other belts, there are a lot more gold discoveries. This was previously thought to be a base metals only belt. There'd been very little gold focused exploration. We have since changed that. We've made a number of gold discoveries, but we've also made some copper discoveries. We put some news out this morning. I'll talk about that shortly. So both gold and copper mineralization on this project in close proximity to a past producing base metal mine, but also in close proximity to a number of active mines and mills, many of which are performing under capacity and looking for additional sources of ore. This is a chaotic map that I'm happy to show you in person in our booth, number 2. But what it shows is that we have made a lot of discoveries. Since 2019, aside from this zone here, with the Gratien Zone and the Central Polymetallic Zone, none of these other discoveries were on the map. As we've been actively advancing and exploring this project and property, we have been actively finding gold mineralization. Something interesting here is that this Normatal fault, this northern thrust fault here, essentially divides the domains between base metals to the north and gold to the south. So in our case, it's copper to the north, gold to the south, and that thesis remains until we find some gold elsewhere. So I'll talk about a few of these discoveries, namely these two right here, the high-grade zone and the Denali zone. Very different styles of mineralization, very close together. Speaking of Amex, I don't think I did mention, but we very often drill high-grade gold at this project with this company, and we've done so since discovery in 2019. These are our best holes released in 2021. On a metal factor basis, so gold times core length. Our best hole released last year, 6.1 meters of 102 grams per ton. 20th best hole is a stellar 4.5 meters of 1 ounce per ton gold. And we've been doing this consistently, and genuinely it's something that differentiates Amex from many of its peers. Is continuity of high-grade gold is quite special here. So what we're looking at here, I mentioned we're going to talk about the high-grade zone and the Denali zone. They are directly spatially related, very different styles of mineralization. High-grade zone is narrow vein, deep, starts from surface, goes down well below 1 kilometer. Denali is near surface, low grade, disseminated, but very wide. One could envision potentially an open pit running east-west here, exploiting this upper portion of the high-grade zone, which starts near surface and plunges off in the east to depth in this direction. So coincidentally, the near surface portion of the high-grade zone comes to surface where you could imagine the Denali zone being mined in an open pit. This is very, very coarse gold. Essentially in every single one of our intercepts, we're seeing beautiful visible gold mineralization. Taking a look at the high-grade zone, I mentioned continuity is king and continuity is key, and we most certainly have continuity of high-grade gold at this project. Mineralization starts essentially 50 meters below surface. We've drilled it down to about 1.3 kilometers vertically. Currently actually drilling some very deep holes that our fingers are very much crossed for, but drilling down around 1.5 to 1.6 kilometers vertically to prove the blue sky continuity that we know is there, but bringing it to the market and showing that we can most certainly drill high-grade gold at depth. So overall, nice strike length of about 150 meters of mineralization, this beautiful stretching, plunging, linear sheet of high-grade gold. And this most certainly looks like an underground style deposit. Something I'll talk about in a little bit is our E2 gold zone. So as you can see, we've drilled some holes up in this upper portion, identified a potentially parallel ore chute to this mineralization, and I'll do some engineering drawings here. But if you're imagining a ramp coming down from surface or a shaft coming down, if you have a parallel chute of mineralization directly beside this high-grade zone, those ounces are nearly free. They're going to dramatically increase the ounce per vertical meter count of the system, and you could easily drift over and exploit these parallel ounces quite easily. Taking a look at Denali. Denali is a very different style of gold mineralization. It's not that high-grade, narrow vein type mineralization. If we're looking at some of our better hits, we're looking at things like 115 meters of 1.39 grams, 50 of 2 grams, 100 of 1 grams. And that sort of characterizes this mineralization. We're focused on the near surface portion, which theoretically would be the open pittable portion of Denali. We have drilled it down actually quite deep to about a kilometer, and had good success in that. But our major focus is the upper sort of 350 meters. Over this past winter, we have doubled the strike length of this deposit with one of the best holes. And unfortunately, I didn't update this slide, but if you look at our press release from a couple weeks ago, we drilled in this portion over here, 30 meters of 11 grams per ton gold. So we most certainly have doubled the strike length. In my opinion, we'll be able to, again, very forward-looking, double that strike length again. Based on historical drilling, we see some indications that this will grow further along strike. So keep your eye out. We think that this will end up being a very important component of the Perron gold story. Metallurgy here is essentially perfect with better than 99% recovery of 3 separate composite samples. And the most exciting thing about this for me, aside from getting all the gold out, is the gravity component is exceptional. Our worst, out of these 3 composites, our worst composite returned 75% of the gold via gravity. Gravity is by far the most inexpensive way to process gold mineralization. Our best out of these 3 returned better than 90% of the gold came out by gravity. So it is very coarse gold, it's free, it's not in sulfides, it will be inexpensive processing. And we're explorers. We spend a lot of money. All of the money actually that we've raised over the past several years has been flow through. We have been aggressively exploring. We have 10 drills on the property. This exploration has yielded success. We have drilled a number of new gold discoveries, including 3.9 meters of 58 grams. This is our E2 gold zone, 13 of 5.5, as well our second follow-up hole, 8 meters of 4.5 grams. That's this sub-parallel zone I was mentioning here. So high-grade zone, E2 gold zone. If you're envisioning being underground, one could easily imagine exploiting those ounces from the same development. In addition, we've drilled this Alizé zone, 5 meters of an ounce, some low-grade gold, 33 of 0.7. We actively drill, we actively explore. We actually have a helicopter on site right now doing a fly-supported campaign to less explored portions of the property. So I'm based on our success to date, I'm quite confident that we'll have additional success by the drill bit in the near future. And just this morning, we announced some beautiful copper results. We made a VMS discovery. What is exciting about that is just along strike from us, here's our property in black. Just to the east of us is a past producing mine called Normetal. Was mined from surface down to over 2 kilometers. Beautiful grades, 10 million tons, better than 2% copper, 5% zinc, half a gram of gold, 45 grams of silver. Our discovery essentially mimics those grades, if not exceeds those grades of mineralization. This morning we announced 6 meters of 2% copper equivalent, along with a number of other results that are very similar to that. Our discovery hole here, 7.8 meters of 2.4% copper, some zinc, bit of gold, nearly an ounce of silver. First follow-up hole, 8 meters of nearly 2% copper, a bit of zinc, some gold, 14 grams of silver. So I urge you to take a look at the news put out today, especially in Quebec. Quebec is famous for VMS deposits. We most certainly, as of this drilling, have identified a VMS deposit, and our job right now is to define the size of that body, but we most certainly know it is a copper-rich system. And in summary, what we're doing here is we're drilling lots of holes. We have one of the biggest programs in Canada. We've got 10 drills operating on site, doing about 10,000 meters a month. We have lots of capital, lots of cash, working towards a maiden resource on the project. And we most certainly will publish economics or work to publish economics at the same time as that resource, because we are convinced, based on where we are, infrastructure that we have, the grades we're seeing, that we should have some very high margin mineralization on the property. That is me. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate your time so early in the morning, and have a wonderful day. Any questions, feel free to let me know. Thanks.